Welcome to the Awakened Leaders, Awakened Business podcast. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a number of things. And firstly, I want to start by sharing a bit about what goes on and what I do, the journey from supervisor to CEO. And I don't mean CEOs in suit, jacket, corporate guy wandering around, but as in how we leverage. So the difference between a supervisor and a CEO is leverage. CEO is how much unit of output per time they spend. And whereas a supervisor, they have a lower output per hour they spend. And the difference is leverage. Like there's four key things to leverage. There's four key things to leverage to get from supervisor to CEO, and there's skills to master along the way. But there's four key skills to leverage. One is capital. If you have money, you have unbelievable leverage. The second one is technology. It's automation, it's AI, it's software, it's coding, it's all that kind of stuff. If you can use software and AI and technology, you can really leverage your time. The third is content, not just social media content, but training. If you create a training video, you spend an hour creating a really detailed training video, you can train 100 people with that video and they'll all put the same output that you would have done by doing that task. So rather than spend your time doing, you spend your time training and you can leverage. And the fourth one is people. Collaborating with other people, building a business around other people is the ultimate way to leverage. You think of all the CEOs, they have hundreds of people working for them. Our supervisor has a lower amount. So the more we can collaborate with people, the more leverage we can get. So if we can master those skills, it gives us the ability to grow and scale our business, our team, our impact in the world. Really incredible journey. When we talk about people, one of the biggest issues with collaborating with other people is communication. They have a communication breakdown. And my favorite thing is with arguments, right? It's not you versus each other. It's the two people on the same team versus the problem in the middle. And that's where you think of a fishing knot, right? And you think the knot is the argument or the issue. If both parties are pulling on either side of that knot, guess what happens? It tightens, it binds, it wrecks it. You end up having to chop it out. It can pretty much destroy the fishing line because both parties are pulling on either side rather than, hey, how do we unravel this issue? How do we unravel this knot? By pulling on the threads and starting to explore what's going on for the issue, and we unravel it. And before you know it, it's completely all out and you can carry on fishing. Or before you know it, the argument or the issue is completely unraveled and you can go on working in the same direction rather than continue on with a knot in the middle of you. Really important. And there's a couple of key things that I've found that make a big impact when we're talking arguments and communication issues. And these are three really powerful questions that I like to use when there's a communication breakdown. It's help me understand your perspective. Help me understand your perspective. What this does is shows the other person you're interested in what they've got to say and that you care. And it helps you step to the side to see what they see rather than you forcing your viewpoint down. An unbelievable question. Great way to build connection and rapport. It's an incredible question. The second one is, how can I best communicate with you? It shows them you really want to do what you can to communicate with the other person. How can I best communicate with you? And lastly is, how can we find common ground? It's one of those things where, okay, what do we need to find common ground here? And as a leader, we often need to find common ground with the team we're working with. We're collaborating with people. How can we find common ground? Given that people is one of the ways we can leverage to scale our business, to go from supervisor to CEO to a small business. When I say supervisor, I'm a business with 2 or 3 or 4 employees, maybe making $2 million revenue to 50, 100 scale leverage. You do the same amount of time, but you've leveraged your time through those 4 things. What I find when discussing with leaders and with clients, one of the biggest issues they have is their team. They come to them and it's great. I work with the leaders and they have a great mindset and they're really solutions focused. But one of the things that they bring to me all the time is, my team come to me with problems all the time. Maybe they're complaining at you. There's a few really good hacks to flip that around. One of my favorite hacks to flip that around and goes, what would you suggest? It's a pattern interrupt, a conversation interrupt. They're complaining, they're whinging about stuff. You're like, okay, cool. What would you suggest? And these are really subtle ways you can shift the focus of your team, because what it does is take them from problem focused to solutions focused, because they've got to start to then think about what would they suggest to fix the problem. Really great hack to switch people to a solutions mindset, especially when you're trying to influence the outcome of your team. Maybe you are in a supervisor position and the team's complaining about a certain part of the job. You're like, okay, cool. What would you suggest? Immediately changes the mindset of the team. Another little conversation hack that I find is really useful working with people when maybe they are quite fixated on a problem and they can't move forward. We've got the what would you suggest. The other one is, how do we find common ground on this? What's the middle ground look like? Because often we're both trying to push our viewpoint and you're like, okay, cool. What's the common ground? You can use the other question that I shared earlier is help me understand your perspective, because arguments aren't something to win. It's about how do we move forward. So you can ask, how do we find common ground? What do we need to find some middle ground here? All of a sudden, it's got them focused on collaboration rather than being right or wrong or getting their viewpoint heard. It's another really great hack to flip it away from problem to how do we work together here? How do we become better at what we do as a team so that we can work together more effectively? And the third little hack when there's disagreement, complaint, negative mindset, is okay, can we live with it? Sometimes people complain about things just to be heard, and it's not that big of a deal. You're like, okay, can you live with it? I spoke to a client yesterday and he was discussing changes to the crew, and his crew had been sent somewhere else and he'd inherited someone else's crew, and he was complaining, and I was like, okay, cool. Is the issue the people, or is the issue the way it was handled? Can you live with the crew? Are you okay with it? Yeah, I've got no problem. I can work with the crew. So his issue wasn't the crew, but he could live with it. So it's fine. He could move on and life goes on. But the lesson is in the way it was communicated, not in the actual act of the crew. So I just asked, can you live with that? Are you happy to work with that crew? What's going on there? He's like, oh yeah, I'm happy to work with the guys. We can build up and move from here. It's just a bit frustrating. I'm like, okay, cool. We found some middle ground. We found some way to move forward. So in our journey from supervisor to CEO, if you own a business, and I talk about, say, that supervisor level, that's that. How do we get your mindset from operating like a supervisor? And for most people in the heavy trades, service businesses, electricians, boiler makers, auto sparkies, diesel fitters, they're good at their job, right? So they go out and start a business. Maybe they're in a supervisor position or in some kind of leadership position, and then they go and start their own business. But they've still got that supervisor mindset. And it's about, how do I get my guys to go out and make some money and leverage those? But we haven't gone past that to look at the ways to leverage to get from here to here. So it's how do we get you from supervisor to CEO and change that mindset so that you can leverage your time to have more output. Such an incredible journey. And I think there's some key skills. And one of the things the simple framework, the CEO framework that I use, which is have a compelling vision, empowered people, and optimized execution. How do we do those three things, and what are the skills we need at the different levels to transition from that leading others to leading leaders, to leading a business, to leading an enterprise, to being, leveraging our time all the way to the top so that we can be more effective and generate more output for our business per hour that we put into it. And one of my biggest drivers is our ability to do what matters to us. And it's not work. And there might be periods of that when you're growing a business or as a CEO, or maybe even peak season. However, it's about understanding what that looks like for you so you can put the most important things in first. I'm literally sitting down with my wife this week to plan out next year's calendar. And the first things we're putting in there is our family holidays. Family's super important to me. Got 3 young kids, school holidays. Let's put that in there. Let's prioritize that time. Where do we want to go? What sort of time do we want? Even if we don't know, hey, let's take 2 weeks here. Let's take a week here. Let's take 2 weeks there. We can always change it if it doesn't work out. But if I don't put that in there, that time can be stolen away by other things. And we all know that when you're running a business, you're in a leadership position, things get busy. There's always going to be something demanding your time. So if we don't take and prioritize the time for the things we need to be able to live our life, then what's the point of it all? So it's really important that we take the time we need as leaders that fulfills us so that we are more at our best. When we're at our best as leaders, we're more productive, we're happier, we have a bigger output, and we think clearer. All the things you need to be successful. However, we push ourselves and we're exhausted and we don't take that time we need to be at our best, which has a huge impact for us. So over the course of the next months, we're going to share stories from clients, stories from other successful people, and we're going to have video interviews, and it's going to be an incredible journey. We're going to look at the different elements of the CEO framework and share some detailed content and what that looks like. Also a bit about my journey as a leadership coach and from where I am to where I'm going to be. And we talk about that supervisor to CEO journey. And over the next 5 weeks, we'll look at the different levels. At supervisor, what does that transition look like? And how do we leverage what we need to in that first step to get us from that step to leading leaders? And what that looks like in a business is maybe getting to a team of 20. And you've got a couple of leaders in the business and you're coordinating them and what that looks like. And then from there, we go up to leading a business where you might have departments and a bit more structure in place. And you've got other people that are running the day-to-day operations. You're no longer a billable hour employee. You're no longer actively involved in revenue generating activities. You've got a team that does that for you. And then we look at leading an enterprise where it's about strategy, big picture thinking. It's about giving the team what they need to be able to leverage their time for them to be able to execute the business. Because if we build our people, they will build our business for us, which will create a better tomorrow for everyone, not just the business owner, but the people in the business if we do this right. Successful businesses pay better. Successful businesses attract more people. So why not get our people right so that we can create super successful businesses and share the wealth and spread the impact that we can have? No amount of poverty ever changed the world, to quote a good mate of mine, Jason Witten. He's famous for saying that. No amount of poverty ever changed the world. So let's get our people right so we can build successful businesses so we can have a bigger impact in the world. So we can make sure our families got what they need so that we can support our communities and sponsor different events and support charities and do what it is that lights us up on the inside. It's really important that we drive our purpose. For me, my purpose is all about helping people. I want to empower businesses to unlock human potential because I think the potential of people is unlimited. And if we can unlock that as a business, then the sky's the limit. We can have whatever impact we want if we can leverage the power of people. And people are the thing that won't be replaced. Software can be AI, processes can be replaced by software and AI. Human interaction is a very long way away from ever being replaced because what makes us who we are is people. What makes our business different is people. If you want a unique selling proposition and you want to differentiate yourself in the market, it's your people and your culture. That's the thing that no one else can copy. You can get software and technology. People can build a product that's similar to yours, but the way you treat people is yours. The way your culture treats people is yours. And if we spend our time as the CEO on people and culture and making sure that from the top down things are the way they need to be, then that's where we can really leverage our time, really leverage what it means to be a CEO. CEO isn't some dude in a suit that gets paid a heap. A CEO is a guy who's mastered leverage, and a real CEO, someone who is inspirational, motivational, and really engages in the team and has a culture that just helps the business thrive. And there's thousands of famous examples across the world. And you can talk about the big, huge companies. You've got the Apples and the Googles and Zappos and these businesses that are just built around incredible cultures. There's no surprise that they're some of the biggest companies in the world. It's because they've built this incredible culture that's enabled people to thrive and grow super successful businesses. Whether your goals are to have a small to medium business, 10 to 20 people, set yourself up for life, whatever that is for you, if we can learn to leverage the power of people and operate like a CEO, It gives us more time, more freedom, more money. And who doesn't want that in life? Because what that does for you is enable you to have more impact. Because I'll challenge you, it's not the money, it's the things it gives you, it's the choices, it's the freedom it gives you. One of my highest values is freedom, and I love it. I love being able to have choices. For me, freedom is all about choices. And I think as a CEO, if we can leverage the power of people, we can then unlock the potential of our businesses and unlock the potential for our life to be what we and start to live by design rather than by default. We're going to have a great series. We're going to interview clients. We're going to talk to some really successful businesses and start to understand what were the key things at different stages for them that helped them go from supervisor to CEO or supervisor to manager or wherever they're at right now in their journey, and then really start to understand what are those key lessons that you can take away that are going to really help you get to where you need to be. I think it's an incredible journey, and I can't wait to talk to you all and start to unpack some value. Have a wonderful week and enjoy.